Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chanie, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. Hello there, and welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. Today, I am kicking off a brand new series on my newest content, the 5 Gears, your school's operating system. Now, I'm so excited about this, and this is going to be a long part series. So, make sure that you're subscribed and ready to join me for the ride. The 5 Gears is actually something that was born out of thousands of hours of coaching with school leaders. And something that I noticed really fascinating was that most school leaders are trying to improve everything simultaneously. And they're really getting stuck in trying to wear all the hats, trying to do everything at once, feeling this real sense of urgency that they have to do everything. They have to have the endless to-do list. And despite working harder than ever before, your school is not progressing. So I want you to think about driving a car for a second. You wouldn't try to drive all shifts, all gears at once. It would completely destroy your engine. And yet so many school leaders are doing that inside of their organization. So that's what really led me to develop the 5-gear framework. So every school, every single school has 5 vital gears that are part of their operating system. Every single activity that you do inside of your center, and I mean every single thing, anything that is on your calendar, your director's calendars, your teacher's responsibility list, whatever it is, everything comes down to these 5 gears. And I'll tell you what they are: enrollment, staff retention, parent engagement, financial health, and strategic growth. So let's look at what the data tells us about what it means to have focused improvement. Google, which is a company that many people are familiar with here, right? A multi-billion-dollar industry, uses something called the OKR system. And the OKR system means limiting teams, so each of their departments can only work on 2 to 3 key objectives per quarter. Because what their data has shown them is that teams with 2 or 3 focused objectives consistently outperform those juggling more than that. Toyota completely revolutionized the manufacturing industry when they focused on just working on 1 to 2 major improvement initiatives in a single time. And they achieved 47% higher productivity than companies or manufacturing companies that were trying to change everything at once. So when we apply these concepts to the gears, and what actually works inside of your school is we think we have to improve all 5 gears at the same time. And what I teach inside of Schools of Excellence is you work on 2 gears at a time. You work on improving 2 gears at a time while the other 3 are in strategic maintenance mode. I'm going to say that again. You work on improving 2 gears at a time while the other 3 are in strategic maintenance. So there's no such a thing as we neglect or we ignore the other gears while we're working on this one, which is typically happening right now. Even though you're trying to work on all 5, it's not possible, so you're not. So what ends up happening is you think you're working on all 5, but you're actually dabbling and you're actively ignoring and neglecting certain gears. And so there are very specific things that you do when that gear is in strategic maintenance versus when that gear is in active improvement mode. Let's look at another example. When you're trying to lose weight, you need to eat in a calorie deficit, right? Again, it doesn't matter what diet you go on or what pills or what this or whatever. True sustainable weight loss is very simple. It's eat in a calorie deficit. Eat less calories, you will lose fat and body weight or whatever it is. Now, Once you hit your target body weight, now you change your calorie intake to be in maintenance mode. And what your maintenance mode is going to be different depending on, where your calorie deficit was or whatever it is. The same thing is in the gears. When you are working on improving a particular gear, there's going to be very specific activity that you need to do to get that gear into a maintenance place, while the other gears are sitting in strategic maintenance mode. And one of the things that happens is so many people think that they're working on enrollment, or they think that they're working on retention, but they're actually just doing busy work. They are not doing true profit generating activity that drives that gear forward. That's why inside of School Leadership HQ, we've created an entire activities rubric that helps leaders understand, here are all the things that you need to do in each of these gears, whether you're in improvement mode or strategic maintenance mode, and here's how to divide it amongst all the people on your team, because no one gear is anyone's responsibility. So that's another common mistake that I see with school leaders, is they think that one person owns each gear. That's not how it works. Every gear needs multiple people working at different levels for that gear. So let me tell you a little story, and then we'll dive into what I mean by every gear needs multiple people working at different levels. So we had a client, we'll call her Jennifer, and she was really, really working on the enrollment gear. Now, she was running constant tours and promotions for her 75% full school. And when she took the 5 gears diagnostic, it actually revealed that parent engagement needed to be her priority gear, because her current families were actually leaving faster than the new ones enrolled. So she spent 60 days focused on parent engagement systems and parent connection systems. And the result was, at the end of those 60 days, she worked on parent satisfaction scores and parent surveys and all these things and templates and systems that we have inside of School Leadership HQ. And the result was that parent referrals ended up filling all of her rooms to 95% capacity in 4 months. This is the power of focused execution. So what are the 4 types of work within each gear? There is strategic level work, there's implementation level work, there's support level work, and there's classroom level work. Now, each of these 4 types of work are designed within each gear, which means the enrollment has very specific strategic level work. Retention has very specific strategic level work. Financials have very specific strategic level work. And you need to understand what fits in each section, right? Okay, so what is strategic level? The strategic level work in each gear is setting the vision and direction. It's analyzing the trends. It's making high-level decision. It's creating long-term targets. That's what it means to work on the strategy and the big picture of each individual gear. Then you have the implementation level gear, where the directors and the managers are. The directors and the managers are the ones creating systems, designing protocols, leading training, optimizing processes. This is what happens at the implementation level at every single gear. Then you have the support level, or the administration. They are doing the daily ops management, the data maintenance, the communication tracking, a lot of the process execution. And then you have the classroom level, which are the teachers. They're doing a lot of direct implementation, creating experiences, supporting initiatives. Now, you might be hearing this and saying, oh my gosh, I do all of these levels. Okay, you might be doing a lot of these levels of work, and that's fine for now. Like if you're in, a particular type of school, or you haven't hired, or this is just the way that the org chart is designed, then the way that you structure your calendar needs to reflect different types of work. That's what we call profit blocking inside of School Leadership HQ. And profit blocking is really designing your calendar. So there are very specific times where you're doing strategic level work, implementation level work, support level work. Because guess what? It requires a different part of the brain. It requires a different amount of time. It requires a different level of execution. And when you try to mash everything together, you get mashed up results, which are not fantastic. So let's look at another story here when it came to a different gear, the financial gear. So we had a client, we'll call her Mary, and Mary's school was very profitable, but it was really chaotic. So staff were working overtime, parents complained a lot about communication, and she really couldn't step away even for a couple days to breathe. And when she took the 5 gears diagnostic, it showed that her staff retention really needed focus, not because of turnover. She didn't have a lot of turnover. Roles were really unclear. There wasn't clearly defined roles and responsibilities. And so after 60 days of implementation and really creating clarity and accountability systems within her staff, her overtime costs dropped by 40%. And here's the kicker, because she worked on the staff retention, her parent satisfaction actually ended up increasing by 60%. So here comes a really crucial question, right? How do you choose which gear needs your focus right now? So the first thing is always you have to take the 5 gears diagnostic. The link is in the show notes, and you can download the diagnostic. After you take the diagnostic, we also have a priority gear matrix that helps you understand which gear needs the most attention right now. But then if you want to take it a little bit further, this is where we have something called 60-day mapping. Now, we teach this extensively inside of our School Leadership HQ. I'll give you a little glimpse here. So when you choose your priority gear, you need to choose the key metric under that priority gear. So for example, if your priority gear is financial health, are you more concerned about revenue per child, operating costs, cash reserves? What goal or metric are you trying to hit within financial health? If staff retention is your priority gear, are you trying to reduce turnover? Are you trying to increase satisfaction? What is the actual metric that you're going after? So I'll walk you through a process that we did with one of our leaders, Mel. She was a director I worked with last month, and her immediate reaction was, everything needs work, right? Sounds familiar? Everything needs work. But when I dug deeper into her staff retention gear, we discovered that her monthly turnover rate was 30%, which is a lot. And so that became clear that that was going to be her priority metric. Step 2 was defining the gap. So her turnover was 30%. So we set a target for 15%. And so that was the target. And then we went to step 3, which is the reality check. Before you commit to any target, you have to assess all the different resources that you actually have available to you to go and execute. And this is what happens a lot with leaders. They go to events, they go to conferences, they join other programs, and they set these targets, but they don't understand the true steps and the scope of implementation and execution and what it will take for a team to execute on. They're already on to the next thing once they spitballed at their team all of these amazing ideas. And the challenge with that is nothing gets followed through and you lose trust in your team. Your team loses buy-in from you because you're scattered and you're all over the place. And so you need to start asking yourself a couple of questions. And again, we have an entire framework of this inside of School Leadership HQ, but here are a couple of questions. Have you identified who owns each part of this process? Who's doing the strategic planning to get this target hit? Who's doing the daily implementation? Who's doing the support work? Who's doing the classroom execution? Who's blocking out specific time in the calendar for key activities that are needed? If systems are missing, and they are, right, who's creating these systems as part of your 60-day plan to hit this target? Only when you answer yes to these questions can you move forward on actually doing that. And so that's when Mel was able to actually create her target, which was reduce monthly staff turnover from 30% to 15% by March 31st through implementing a mentorship program. So she chose the specific method and system of how she was going to actually reduce the turnover through our mentorship program. So we have an entire mentorship program that we teach inside of School Leadership HQ, and she's implementing that mentorship program in her center in order to reduce the churn. So this process works for every single gear, because you need all 4 types of work for every single gear, and you need to set the gear, the 60-day mapping, the metric, everything needs to be organized in order for you to actually hit your goal and not be overwhelmed. This is not about, now I have another thing on my plate. All of this content and curriculum and the way that it's designed is designed for the chaos. It's designed to work with all of the constraints that you already have now. I know that because I work within constraints all the time. I have 4 young kids. I only work a certain amount of hours a week because there's there's only so much you can handle before you actually start to have diminishing returns because you're working too much. You're just working too much. So we had a client that we were working with, we'll call her Sarah, and she had actually a 96% enrollment rate, which is fantastic. And she had solid financials, but she really felt stuck. And when she did the 5 gears diagnostic, it actually highlighted that her strategic growth gear needed attention, not for expansion, but for leadership development, the internal development of her team. And so she worked alongside us and created a 60-day training program where she was documenting systems with her team leads and just really working on internal growth mentorship program. And now her school runs a lot smoother even when she's not there. And so now she's actually able to start planning the build out of a second location with a lot more confidence. So what would be some targets? You can have a financial health target like increase revenue per child from 900 to 1,000 by implementing this enrichment program by March. It could be an enrollment focus goal if you need work on enrollment. Enroll 5 more kids in our toddler and preschool program by this date using TOR ratio implementation. Parent engagement might be increase family event attendance from 40% to 60% through monthly theme celebrations by this date. The key isn't just picking a goal, it's choosing the right metric with the right gear that creates momentum with your priority gear. So I want to wrap up here with a story about a client we'll call Ashley. So Ashley ran a school with 6 classrooms that had grown to 12 in 18 months. So she had doubled in 18 months. And so she was drowning in staff complaints and parent concerns and classroom coverage. And so I did the 5 gears diagnostic with her, and it actually revealed her priority was non-enrollment or parent engagement. It was her strategic growth gear. Her school had doubled, but her systems hadn't upgraded. And so we worked together and she spent 60 days implementing clear communication workflows and channels. She stopped being the bottleneck. And so what happened was her staff were able now to solve problems on their own at their level. Parent complaints dropped by over 60%. And this is the best part. She went from working 60 hours a week to 35 hours a week. So if you are ready to discover your priority gear, I want you to download the 5 Gears Diagnostic. Schoolsofexcellence.com's this 10-minute diagnostic is going to show you exactly which gear you need to focus on to create momentum across your entire school. Next week, we're going to get started with each gear, and I'm going to go every week. I'm going to unpack a specific gear. We're diving into the first gear, the enrollment gear. Thanks again for joining me, schoolsofexcellence.com, to download the diagnostic.